And you're right, Mr. Sophisticated. Let's go. All right. Well, good morning to all of you. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and I hope you can hear me well. Is the AV good quality? How's the quality there, Whip? Is it good? Kind of a different sort of a setup here, but I can make do. All good. Thank you. Thank you, Ross. Very, very good. All right. Well, who do we have here? We have quite a ex-colleagues in the house. Michael is here. Good morning to you, folks. And Greg R., good morning to you from North Central Arkansas. Very cool. Hey, Tracy, good to see you. Miami OB, good morning to you. Nick in the house. Very, very good. Ross Dingle, good to see you. More folks are getting on. Anita Toke in the house, telling me there was no sound, but we have sound now. Justin's here. Justin Ramos. Let's see. More and more getting on. I like it. I like it. Miami OB, starting the dialogue with, I have ordered virtually all my fish online, with the exception of my red tail and rainbow sharks. There are many reputable online dealers, Imperial, Snake River, Ron's, Beantown. I've ordered from all of those, except Ron's. I have not ordered anything from Ron's. Anita in New Orleans. I'm going to be in New Orleans, actually, with my side hustle. I'm going to be in New Orleans in the beginning of October. Quite an interesting town. GP, audio and video, fantastic. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Good to see you here as well. So, very quick, we'll just do some very quick shout outs like we normally do. And let's see here. You know, it was a last minute topic, didn't know what I was going to talk about, and then suddenly decided, okay, you know, I think seeing how I've ordered some fish recently and I did have some issues, let's go ahead and talk about that just so you folks do a little better. I can do a little better, learn from my mistakes. And first of all, a couple quick shout outs to Aquarium Co-op for all the help that they give the channel. And also to Cunningham Tropicals, who's going through a big remodel. And it does look like he's still offering ben.o.ciclid. His fish food is awesome. My fish love it and go after it. So you can use that 15% on fish and also on dry goods. So keep that in mind. Big shout out to both of them for their help. If you folks use Amazon, who doesn't use Amazon these days? And get to it using this link and you will help the channel. Amazon.com/shop/ben.o.chart. You can visit my store if you like on Amazon. I have a lot of products there that I recommended, but if you just use that link to get to Amazon and then go out of my store into general shopping, you will actually help the channel. A percentage will go to the channel. And last but not least, if you would like to pick up some channel swag, like hats and t-shirts and things like that, hoodies, it's almost hoodie season's coming. Visit my Teespring store. The link is at the bottom of the banner if you're using a PC to watch videos. All right, let's go ahead and get underway here. I'm going to turn this down. And if you have any questions for me as we go along, if you can just write ben.o.chart in front of the question, what will happen is that'll jump out at me and I'll be able to see it and be able to respond to your question. I notice Michael has one already, or a comment. I had some mishaps with male peacock this week. Funny how a water change can turn on the aggression. You can lose a fish in hours if you don't watch. Save both males, but close calls. Well, you know, I've commented on this a lot, and I've talked about how, in my estimation, the peacocks are the more aggressive of the Lake Malawi fish, and that surprises some people because you would think that the fish that we call predators would be the more aggressive, but it's been my experience that they're not. It's been my experience that the more aggressive ones are the peacocks, and as I've said before, the haps will chase until it's established that who's in charge, and the peacocks will chase just for the sport of it, and will continue chasing until they've killed off who they're. I mean, it's. I got an order of peacocks one time. I'm going back to when I first got here. An order of beautiful peacocks from the Cichlid Shack in Arizona, who unfortunately is no longer around. But they sent me some beautiful peacocks, and I kid you not, I was losing like one or two a day. It was so frustrating. I mean, granted, I had like 10, maybe 10 5-inch to 6-inch peacocks in a 55-gallon going through going through quarantine, and so they were so maybe because they were so jammed up. But what are you going to do? You're not going to quarantine them in a 500-gallon tank. I mean, so. But anyway, it was very, very frustrating because I had some beautiful. There was an albino flavescent. There was. I mean, there's just a variety of great. The dragon blood was the biggest killer, and I ended up getting rid of that dragon blood eventually. He was just a stone cold killer. All right. So I have some tips, and you'll like this, Mr. Sophisticated. Since you've never really pulled the trigger on it, you'll appreciate the comments today. And I made me, I like to make lists. But today's list, I'm going to go ahead and put on the screen. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Hold on. All right, so you should be hearing me. I switched to a different set of slides or screen, but the sound should be coming through. Sound check, sound check. All right, so let's get into today's topic. And we'll start off with number one. And these are things that I've learned the hard way in having placed. I've lost count how many orders of fish I've gotten in the mail. And I would guess dozens. Oh, I'm getting a warning of something. Hold on one second, please. Okay, are we all good? Could one of the moderators tell me, do we have good picture and sound? We're having electrical storms here, so there could be some glitches as we go along. Hey, Whip, is the sound and audio okay? I hear you. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So item number one on the list. Now, this is important if you're going to be doing any online buying, is don't do the impulse buy. And I've made this mistake. And you see a fish you've been wanting and you see it available and you go, oh, there it is. And you put it in a cart and you buy it. And come to find out that that particular vendor is not necessarily a reliable vendor, and that vendor charges $80 for shipping for one fish, and that vendor delivers to an airport that's an hour away from you, and that vendor doesn't have a good arrival guarantee on their fish, and possibly is what we call a pop-up vendor, somebody who just happens to have a fish and throws it out there for sale. So you want to stay out of the impulse buying when you're going to be ordering fish online. You want to shop, and you want to look around. You want to search for the fish and see who out there has that fish, and then compare the options. And I've made the impulse buy purchase, and it actually it had to be worked out, and later I ended up having to like remove recommendations for a particular fish vendor because I found out some bad things about them, and I ended up having to backtrack. So at any rate, don't impulse buy when you're buying online. Now that's different from your local fish store who's offering you a 30-day warranty on the fish, and you can drive 20 minutes and take the fish back or report a problem. Online, it's a different world. It's a different world because you got to make contact with the person. Maybe they're not responding to your attempts at contacting them, and it can get real frustrating and very expensive real quick. So, just something to keep in mind. And Ben.o. Great Lakes, I window shop. You know how many times, Ben.o., I've gone to a site and filled up my cart with all these fish, window shopping, right? And I've probably done this more than I've actually ordered fish, where I've filled up the cart and then went to the checkout and then added it all up and then included the shipping and then bailed out. Just window shopping, right? Just window shopping. So, at any rate, point number one: avoid the impulse buy. It can send you down a path you don't want. The reviews that I find are negative, I don't pursue it. I don't pursue it. Now, for those of you that if you were a fish scammer, what would you do? You would find fish that are popular, that people are looking for. There's something going on with the connection. I'm not sure what it is. I keep getting a message from my platform, my broadcasting platform, OBS it's called. It's saying it's reconnecting, connecting, reconnecting, which is very, very unusual. At any rate, let's see if we can work through this. And again, we are having a lot of electrical activity outside. Well, Zach, that fish, doesn't that fish get like ginormous? Just picked up a Trimac, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't that fish get like 12 to 14 inches or more and real beefy, and yeah, you're gonna need a bigger tank. Thank you for that super chat, Michael. And the dealers on Band app? I've never heard of that. Band app. I didn't know there were fish dealers on Band app. And did I say thank you to GP for that super chat? Thank you, my friend. Super chatters are very appreciated. You're all very appreciated, but super chatters are appreciated. Thank you for that. I've never heard of Band app. You want to send me a link to that Band app? Let me know what you're talking about there, Michael. You can send it to ben.o.ciclid at gmail.com. ben.o.ciclid at gmail.com. Point number 3 is when you're going to buy fish online, find out from the vendor what are their quarantine procedures. Do they run them through a regimen of meds? Do they sell them as soon as they get them? Do they observe them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? Or are they just into a very rapid turnover? What is their QT procedure? Find out about that. Ask questions. And if you're not comfortable with what they tell you, move on. No matter how much you want the fish and the good price, if it seems sketchy to you what they're doing, like flipping them right away, you might end up importing something into your fish room that's going to be really hard to get, like a difficult strain of Colomaris or something like that. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. The aqua importers, they told me that they run their fish through a regimen of parasite treatment. But the spot cheeks, if you've been following my channel, the spot cheeks did end up having parasites, and the spot cheeks are gone. I'm gonna have to reorder them, which is real funny because the apistos that they sent me were rock solid. They sent me rock solid, healthy apistos, the cockatoo and the dwarf. But for some reason, the spot cheeks came in a little sunken, a little stringy on the poops. And when I contacted them, they said, yeah, that's unusual because we run them through a regimen of... Anyway, so that's sort of the dice that you roll when you use a new vendor. I'd never used that vendor before. So now I know that they're a little bit hit and miss. Whereas somebody like Cunningham or... Imperial, Snake River, right? Beantown, I mean, the fish are rock solid. Rock solid. So that was a bit of a letdown. I'm going to keep looking. I am going to find some spot cheeks. But ask about their quarantine. And let's say they do observe for 30 days. And you can still put them through your own regimen of paracleanse or whatever. But for me those spot cheeks were a little bit of an impulse buy. So I kind of paid the price on that one. So find out about their quarantine procedures, and don't forget to quarantine yourself, of course. Don't forget to put them through your quarantine. I also ask about what they've been feeding, and I'll tell you why. Very often before they ship fish, very often they starve them for 24 to 48 hours because they don't want them soiling up their water in shipment, right? They don't want getting a bunch of poop in the water and stuff. So what they'll do is they'll fast the fish for a few days, usually 24 hours, sometimes longer. But if it's a bigger fish, they can go a little longer. Smaller fish, maybe not so long. So when those fish arrive, after they've settled in, they're going to be really hungry. But if they reject the food that you're feeding, they could get themselves into a bit of an issue. You know, they're going to be they could get themselves a little bit into some physical starvation issues. So find out from the vendor, what are you feeding? Are you feeding pellets, flakes, frozen foods? What are you feeding? And then let the fish settle in with the lights out. Let them get comfortable. And when you see them swimming around a little bit, which means they've kind of caught their breath from the trip, just sprinkle in a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of what the vendor told you they've been feeding the fish. Flakes, pellets, freeze-dried, whatever it is. And that way the transition will be a little easier. And then what you can do is, if you, let's say that they feed flakes, but you prefer to feed pellets, you can then mix pellets and flakes together and then slowly remove the flakes and get them over to how you want to feed them. So definitely ask about feeding, what they're feeding, how often they're feeding, and these are important points when you receive fish online, fish that were ordered online. Another thing, believe it or not, is to really understand their shipping procedures. One time I misunderstood shipping procedures, and I was waiting at home like all morning for the shipment because I received an email saying it was arriving at 9 a.m. And then when I went back and read the fine print from this vendor, that was a delivery that was going to be occurring at Southwest Cargo at the airport. I had to go to the airport. Fortunately, I realized this with enough time to get to cargo before they closed down, because if they had closed down, those fish would have sat in the cold warehouse overnight. So be really, really clear on shipping. Is it going to be to your door? Is it going to be to an airport? Be sure they have the airport that you prefer. Like when I was in Los Angeles, by default, LAX would be the airport. Getting to LAX from the Arcadia and Glendale area is a nightmare. Burbank is much better, so I'd always ask, can you ship to Burbank? Can you get that package to Burbank Airport, which I think is Bob Hope Airport now. And so that would make a big difference. But again, this had to be clarified and discussed, and then you make the trip and you go to the airport and pick them up and bring them back. And so be real clear on that. Be real clear about the cost. Don't be shocked. Don't find out when you get to the airport, for example, like you paid for your fish and you didn't read the fine print. You think that what you paid covered shipping, and you get to the airport cargo, and to give you the box, they need $65 to cover the shipping cost. And if you arrive there with in a situation where you don't have the 65, those fish are going to stay in the warehouse, and it's going to be too bad. You're going to have lost the fish. It's not going to be any fault of the vendor if they have everything in writing. So just be really clear on how are you going to get them to me, and how much is that going to cost me. And I'll be honest with you, there have been several times where I filled up my cart, like we talked about earlier with the window shopping, and it was the shipping that ended up knocking me out of the water. So, because if you're going to order one or two fish, $50, $60 for shipping, that's bumping the cost of each fish up $25. I mean, or $30, that gets a little steep. Now, if they can get them all in one box and it's $60 and you're ordering a dozen fish, that, spread out over a dozen fish, not that bad. But one fish, I was looking for a trout back in Los Angeles, and I ended up getting a beautiful trout. I think I got them from the Wonder of Cichlids, the person who made this mug. The Wonder of Cichlids, one of my favorite mugs. And he had the fish I wanted, and he had the right size that would fit in the group of that I had at that time, and I bit the bullet, and so I paid like over $100 for that, for that trout, and back when the trout was like 40. Now today, I think a trout is what? What do you pay for a big trout today? $80 before shipping. I've seen some African cichlids, Lake Malawi cichlids, for $150. Crazy, absolutely crazy. This is your bonus, some bonus tips here. Be real clear on their dead on arrival policy and on their sick policy. What if the fish arrives sick? What if the fish arrives doesn't look in good shape or arrives dead? What are the policies and procedures for you to be covered? Now, if you have a reputable vendor, you're going to get an instant refund or an instant reshipment of a fish, no questions asked. Reputable vendors, if you can prove that fish arrived in bad shape, they're not going to haggle with you. A sketchy vendor is going to go back and forth. They're going to delay. They're going to give you a little bit of a runaround, and chances are you might end up just SOL. So really, really be clear on the dead on arrival policies of that vendor before you hit that purchase button. Another bonus tip is, I think I might have mentioned this already, is definitely look at how long have these folks been offering fish, and what are the online reviews. Like if you go to, if you look into Beantown, you look into Snake River, you look into Imperial, right? You look into Cunningham. I mean, you're going to see a long track record. You're going to see a very high rating, right? 4 to 5 stars. You're going to read reviews, and peppered in there, you'll see a couple that are, you can't please everybody, right? But 95, 98% are going to be 5-star, 4-star, excellent vendor, great fish, good communication. That's the thing I look for a lot. If there's comments about bad communication, I couldn't get in touch with them, I couldn't find them, I avoid like the plague. Good communication is number one, and so definitely do that for sure before you pull the trigger and make that $100 plus commitment. Let's see, do I have some more for you? I think I do. If there is a problem when the fish arrives, pull out your cell phone and take pictures. Don't open the bag. Take pictures. I've had fish arrive, and I don't know why, but the fish was either gasping or dead, and the water was cloudy. But the other bags in the shipment were fine. And for some reason, this one bag ended up, maybe they didn't add the blue, right? That methylene blue, maybe something. I don't know. Maybe that fish was already a little bit sick, but you take pictures before you break the seal that they, the way they seal the bag. Take pictures and get those pictures immediately emailed to the vendor. Right at the time of delivery. Hey, just brought the box in, just opened it, and here's what I found. So it's really, there's no argument. They really can't argue with you. And I've got one more tip for you. And I assure you that a lot of these tips are tips that I've learned the hard way. They've cost me money and aggravation. And I hope that by listening to these, you can avoid those aggravations. Raisin Fish is in the house. Hey, Scotty. Good to see you. Kim and Carl are here. Using some of the Sarah mini tropical pellets. Fish are going out of their mind. Sarah is rock solid. Point number 5. Be fully prepared for delivery. What does that mean? If you're going to quarantine them, which I recommend, have a quarantine tank ready. Have the water level in the aquarium down an inch or 2 or 3, depending on how many fish, so you can float the bags and not overflow the tank. Be sure that tank is ready to accept fish. Some of you, keep hospital tanks, at the ready, maybe with a pleco in there, or maybe you ghost feed it, drop a little pellets in, but you keep it, you keep the bacteria there, and probably not a bad idea to add a little bit of bacteria. If you take a tank that's just been sitting there with a pleco in it as a hospital tank, and suddenly you get 7 fish and you put them in there, not a bad idea. Throw a little stability in there, throw a little bit of Fritzyme in there, not a bad idea. But be ready for the delivery. Have your tank ready. Also, know when it's going to be around and be sure you're there, because let's say it's the summer, our front porch gets beaten to death by the sun, to the point where my wife had to put pot handle, some of those heavy rubberized cooking pot handles on the latch for the glass door in front of our door, so you don't burn your hand on the handle. That's how hot the front of our house gets. So you can imagine a box of fish sitting on my porch is going to get up to, in the summer, is going to get to 95 degrees, maybe hotter. So, and some vendors in the summer will pack cold packs with the fish. And that's, again, reputable vendors will do proper packaging, and that's one of the signs of a reputable vendor. They have the proper materials, so they send a sturdy, well-insulated box, right? Thick styrofoam, good internal insulation, a hot pack or a cold pack. The bags usually are double bagged and they're clasped, so there's no chance of leak. And all the bags are in one large bag, that if a bag does have a slow leak of some kind, the box isn't going to get soggy. So these are all the signs of a pro vendor, a pro shipping person, right? So there you go. Now, do you have any tips for people ordering online? 2 questions for you. Do you have any tips for people ordering online? And number 2, what's your favorite vendor? If you've ordered several times online, who has come through? Who is your favorite vendor that you love ordering from because you know it's going to be 100% legit? You're going to get what you ordered, and they're going to stand behind their product. Tell me about that in the comments. We all learn from each other, right? Salient, maybe I did get that picture, but if you noticed last week, I didn't release hardly any videos. Did I release a video during the week? I don't think I did. I have been the one-legged man in the butt-kicking contest, mainly because most afternoons from noon till about 4, I would put my granddaughter down and she would take a nap. And during that nap time, I would make videos and do things like that. Well, she's hit a point where she's not taking naps anymore. So I've lost that window of time in my afternoons. So I'm going to have to move my schedule around, but I didn't get to much last week. And so I'm pretty sure I got it. I'll check my email. I'll look. Thank you for sending it. GP casts his vote for Imperial Tropicals. And yes, I've got to agree with you. Imperial Tropicals has been legit. Let's see who else. You know, if you have Kim and Carl, if you have some well-stocked fish stores that stock the kind of fish that you like and are trying to get, then yeah, that's that. I mean, to go and see the fish with your own eyes, look at the price, talk to the person there, ask them what they're feeding, ask about the quarantine that they put their fish through, and then taking that fish immediately home and floating and I mean, yeah, that's the best way to go. But there are some fish out there that you simply can't find. You can't find them locally, and like a linny, like the linny in the tank behind me, Nimbochromis linny. I've never seen a linny in a local fish store. Maybe you have a cichlid vendor in your area that carries a linny. I've never seen one here locally. Unfortunately, as much as I love my local fish store. I love the Aquatic Critter. Great people, beautiful store. However, their African cichlid selection is average. Big cichlids, below average. OBs, right? Real common stuff. Some dragon bloods. Probably stuff that local breeders are bringing in. And they usually they'll have a couple nice things in the grow out section, but I'm not going to put a 2-inch snack, a $50 2-inch snack in the tank behind me. Michael likes Andre, yeah. I think Andre Fritz at Beantown is very, very cool. J&J Cichlid is a good dealer along with Lulu Aquatics. Haven't heard of those. J&J and Lulu. They ship. Any good vendor that you want me to check out, if you have a vendor that you've used and it's been successful for you, send me their information at the ben.o.ciclid at Gmail, and I'll check out their website and take a look. I love promoting good vendors. So Zach, maybe you said this before, but so how did you end up getting those fish? Zach says chocolates and geos have been a little hard to find, but so how did you end up scoring those fish? And did you order them online, or did you make a long drive to a vendor? Like, that's another thing. I mean, sometimes there's a vendor that's 70 miles away, but they have a fish you want. Even that would be to some degree preferable compared to, let's say, putting fish through the stress of a long trip, a journey on an airplane, and handling, right? Being handled like cargo, where cargo just gets tossed. It does. So the wet spot. Bill D says the wet spot. I've heard of the wet spot. Never used the wet spot. Salient Aquatics has expensive fish coming this month and taking 2 days off. Wow. That's dedication right there. Can you share with us what they are? Or are they surprise fish? I mean, you have a YouTube channel, right? Are you just going to surprise the viewers with these new fish? If you are, you don't have to tell me. But that's cool. And definitely after you first get your fish, it's not a bad idea to observe, especially if they're aggressive fish, like the ones behind me. You definitely want to take a little time and, lights off, but enough light so you can see what's going on and make sure that somebody isn't getting a welcome to the neighborhood whooping, which cichlids are notorious for. Some Zach, that's a good point. Some stores will actually special order for you, and they essentially go through the online. And honestly, you want to know the truth? A lot of the fish that are there might be coming from Imperial. Imperial provides wholesale and retail. That was one of the complaints James used to have about Imperial. He goes, well, he would buy them at wholesale, but then he was competing against his supplier because the buyers could also buy directly from Imperial. But Imperial does supply wholesale and retail. So you special order and you find out that they ordered it from the person that you could have ordered it from, but maybe the prices are comparable. I don't know. That's a great name, GP. Aquadice. Aquaridice. Aquaridice. What a cool name for a store. Whip, you have a very active community up there. See, Whip goes to the swaps, and that's a great way to get a hold of fish, right? Because you're seeing the fish, you're seeing the breeder. They're also very often bred and raised in local water, and so they're going to be acclimated to the pH and conditions of water, like in the conditions of the water in your area. That is probably one of the best ways, price-wise, acclimation-wise, right? Because the local store, those fish might have come from Indonesia or who knows where, right? But at swaps, you're getting fish that have been locally bred, and there's just a lot to be said for that. And so maybe that kind of community exists here in Nashville. I haven't run across it. There is a Music City aquatic society, but it's just kind of getting off the ground. I'm not sure what the deal is there. Maybe I need to participate in that more, but what's the minimum dollar amount? I would call a fish expensive. Well, you've got different kinds of fish. Like, there are some fish that if they don't make it, let's say they don't make it after about 3 weeks or whatever, they flip over and die. At what point in the cost of that fish? I mean, it's always hard to lose fish. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to seem insensitive here, but what would have to be the cost of that fish for it to hurt financially? I think you start getting it. It depends on everybody's budget. For one person, spending over $20 for a fish, it's a lot. I mean, they're kind of going bill to bill, month to month, and whenever they do something for their tanks or buy something for their tanks, they feel it because they're on a tight budget. So for that person, something over $20 that flips over and dies, that's going to hurt because they're not sure when they're going to have another $20 to spare. For another fish keeper, that threshold might be $100, $100 fish. For me, I mean, I don't like losing any fish, but it hurt a little bit for those spot cheeks to expire on me. I don't know what they were, $16. They were more because I really wanted to grow. I really, really wanted to grow those fish out. And that hurt more than the cost. But yeah, up around, you get up over $50 plus shipping. And that for me starts to feel like, okay, this is an expensive fish. And I better be really ready when he gets here. I better make sure I've got the right tank to put him in. I've got to make sure I've got the right quarantine set up, and I better be grooved in on this fish. And that's, for me, that's pretty much, that would be probably the cutoff. M&C Aquatics, $250 to $300. Let me tell you, you get M&C, you get into the saltwater world, and that's not uncommon. I mean, heck, you'll see a person pay $300 for a piece of coral and then have some glitch with their dosing system and lose all their coral, lose $5,000 worth of coral. So, there are different worlds, right? Different worlds out there of fish keeping. Chattanooga and Knoxville, you're right, Whip. I spoke at the East Tennessee. Maybe you've seen that T-shirt sometimes. I've spoken at the East Tennessee Association. It was great, good turnout, great people, nice T-shirt, nice hat. Yeah. Aquanan. Anybody have a tip for Aquanan? Aquanan is trying to find blue topaz guppies. Now, the first place I would say to check would be Dan's. I mean, Dan seems to get a hold of some great guppies, right? Dan's fish. But anybody have a tip for Aquanan on finding some blue topaz? Yeah, that's right, Whip. You're going to get the best prices. Sometimes those prices, especially towards the end of the swap, right? You've been to these swaps, and at the end of the swap, they don't want to repack all that stuff and take it back. So very often, like in the last 30 minutes of the swap, and if you wait that long, you might risk losing the fish you wanted. But if you roll the dice right before they're about to pack up, you might get those fish at 50% off of the already marked down price because they don't want to pack it all back up and send it back. M&C Aquatics, I saw one saltwater fish go for $1,500. You see, now you're out of you're out of my league right there. I mean, you get a fish like that, and it ends up, you make a mistake, and man, that hurts. I don't care how much money you have, that hurts. That would be like you'd be knocking yourself in the head. But but then again, there are people out there. Who make, 20, 30,000 a month. That's their earning, 20, 30,000 a month. And that, it would sting a little bit, but not that much. Kim and Carl says Twin City Guppies. There you go. Whip says that saltwater is ridiculous. What? $1,500 for a frag and it died? Now that would hurt. Now the other side of that coin is some of these corals are breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. You don't even know how in the world something like that could even exist. GP for some of the rare Asian arowanas, 10,000 wouldn't be out of it. You know, how about those in Japan, those special koi breeders? Like there was that one koi that looked like he had the Japan flag on his forehead. I think that fish went for like $100,000. So there are lots of folks out there with a lot of money that they obviously want to spend it. And it's their money, to each their own. All right. Any other comments? Did I miss any super chats? Super chats. Thank you for those of you who have super chatted. It is very appreciated. And for those of you who would like to support the channel on a monthly basis, please consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon's starts for about $3 a month, and it really helps me in more ways than you know, like I like to say. So think about becoming a member of the Garage Gang and a Patreon supporter. Patreons are very, very appreciated. Okay, hit me with some questions. We're already past the hour, but I want to see some of your questions. DSGF off topic, but I made a PVC spray bar for water surface movement. And boy, what a difference. My cichlids are much more active, hungry, happier, and they're all smiling. Well, you know, it's funny you say that because oxygen, and I have several videos out on oxygen tips. But your fish can be slightly oxygen depleted and you don't even know it. They're occasionally moving their mouth, right? You see some occasional sort of, and you don't know it. Certainly when they're excited about eating or they're in the middle of a chase, yeah, you're going to see that kind of stuff. I'm talking about day in, day out, moving around the tank. You don't see it because it's just sort of hidden. And so they operate at this slightly oxygen depleted level, which is going to be stressful. And it's like, have any of you ever gone up to 7,000 to 10,000 feet altitude? When I would ski, I'd ski at places that were, 7,500, 8,000, 6,500 feet. You feel it. You get acclimated over time, but you feel it. And your heart races a little bit. You might be a little lightheaded. Maybe you get a headache. But if someone looked at you, they wouldn't know that you're experiencing these symptoms. Unless you've got altitude sickness, in which case you're pale and maybe you're gasping. But your fish can have a little bit of altitude sickness, right? And what you look for is their mouths. Are their mouths moving? Now, assuming they're not chasing each other right now, take a look at the mouth of the fish. I'll zoom in even tighter. Let's zoom in if we can. Let me see if I can zoom in a little tighter. No, that might be as tight as I can zoom. All right, so take a look at the mouth of these fish and tell me, like, assuming they're not in the middle of a chase, their mouths are pretty much clamped. So you're not seeing You're not seeing them working their mouths. If you see a steady working of the mouth, now maybe there's some species that do that all the time. I don't know. But if what you're seeing is just a clamped mouth, you know they're okay. Now, if they're oxygen deficient, you're going to see working of the mouth. You'll see a slightly colored down, slightly less active. And there'll be other issues as well. They'll be more prone to disease, things of that nature. Anyway, there's a video called Are We Choking Our Fish? I think it's called. Are We Choking Our Fish? And it's all about oxygen and my own experience with it. Now, the deadliness about oxygen depletion is that what will happen is fish will, if you really have a severe oxygen issue, fish will die off until there's enough oxygen in the tank to support the remaining fish. So your bigger, higher oxygen consumption fish will die first, and then the dying will stop. And you'll scratch your head and go, what's going on? Then you'll go and buy some more fish, and you'll have some die-off again. And you'll never be able to figure it out because you're right on that borderline of just almost not enough oxygen. All of a sudden, you do, like DSGF did, you start breaking up the surface, whether it be with a wave maker, a spray bar, even some sponge filters that create bubbles at the top. And all of a sudden, your fish they're peppy, they're active, they're colored up, they're not working their mouths, and you can add more fish. So if you increase the population of your aquarium, if you suddenly add a lot of fish to the aquarium, like I've recently done, I mean, you just got to make sure you're breaking up that surface. And, you know, I've added some much more fish recently. But my surface is so broken up with the outputs from the sump, it's ridiculous. So I don't worry too much about oxygen. I also have air stones on lithium battery power backup so that if power goes out, there's still some surface tension breakup. Fish this big are going to consume a tremendous amount of oxygen. Now, the fish in my planted tank, the fish in my planted community tank, I could have a power outage, even though I do have a lithium battery powered air stone in there too, but the oxygen being created by the plants might be enough to support that tank. You know, so different things to consider. There you go. See what happens, DSGF, when you get me going on oxygen? I end up blowing out a lot of oxygen. Salient, you want to go fish shopping at Ben's house? GP's got to leave us. I think he's been hit with the honeydew list. Mini Mac, what time of day you whip? Okay, let's see. All right. GP, have a great weekend. All of you, wonderful moderators, Salient, GP, and everybody else, thank you so much for joining me here today. Hope you enjoyed the topic. Sorry about those initial glitches. Like I said, we were getting electrical storms here, and it always makes a live stream very interesting. But thank you to all of you who hung in there. And I'll have an upcoming video. I'm going to do an upcoming video on a couple of products that have been sent to me. So watch for those. Pretty interesting, having to do with security, fish room security. And I'm thinking about a series called 60 Days, 60 Fish. 60 Days, 60 Fish, where every day I put out a short video under 3 minutes that profiles of fish. What do you think about that? One short every day for 2 months, 60 days, 60 fish. Tell me in the comments what you think about that idea, if you think it would be good. It'd be interesting to see what effect it would have on the channel to have a video upload every day for 60 days. That would be kind of interesting. A bit of a challenge, a lot of editing, but we'll see. We'll see. Ben.o. Great Lakes, is there a way to have lots of plants? Plants will create oxygen. I think they do it only, I think, is it when the lights are out? But plants will create oxygen. They remove the CO2 and release oxygen. Plants are wonderful that way. Otherwise, you do need surface tension. Some of it's going to occur naturally, some, but a very small amount. The O2 will gas off, and maybe, but really get the oxygen in there. Ben.o. Great Lakes, you need some breakup. Even if it's just a little air stone, you need some breakup. So, and if you're slightly low on oxygen, you're going to be shocked at the difference. Shocked at what you see, both in color and activity. Zach says 60 by 60 would be fun. 30 days of YouTube shorts, a lot of effort for me. Price tag. Hey, Joe, good to see you here. Didn't even know you were here, Joe. Have you been here the whole time? Have you been lurking? Yeah, you'd have to film a lot of them at once. You like bulk film them, and then cut them and upload them, and then set them up for. You can set up at what day you want the video to upload. So you could do like blocks of 10 at a time, and then the hard work would be doing the YouTube editing so that you have a release or an upload date or the date where it goes public. And there's logistics. Believe me, I'd have to have a pad with the name of each fish and a check mark, as to what stage am I at with that fish. But it could be an interesting challenge. 60 days, 60 fish. We'll see. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. You rock. I appreciate you very, very much. More than you know. And I will see you. I believe I will be here next week. I will see you then. And until then, thank you for watching my videos and continuing to support the channel in all the different ways that you do. You are very appreciated. See you next week, my friends. Bye-bye.